and gentlemen. Life is a journey full of twists and turns, joys and sorrows, victories and setbacks. In this ever changing landscape, frustration is an inevitable companion. It creeps into our minds when expectations are not met, when hard work does not yield immediate results, and when the world seems indifferent to our efforts. But the question is, can we stay safe from frustration? To answer this, we must first understand its nature. Frustration is born from resistance resistance to what is, resistance to change, and resistance to the reality that life does not always bend to our desires. It is the gap between our expectations and reality that breeds frustration. The greater this gap, the deeper our suffering. But the wise do not fight reality, they embrace it. The Stoic philosophers of ancient times taught us that we cannot control external events, but we can control how we react to them. If frustration arises from unfulfilled desires, then perhaps the key to peace lies in redefining those desires. Instead of demanding that life be a certain way, why not flow with it? The Buddhist philosophy offers another insight. Attachment is a root of suffering. When we cling too tightly to outcomes, we set ourselves up for frustration. Letting go does not mean giving up, it means surrendering to the present moment, trusting the process, and understanding that setbacks are not roadblocks but lessons in disguise. Then there is the wisdom of patience. Great things do not happen overnight. The river does not carve the rock in a day, but over years of persistence. When we remind ourselves that life moves at its own pace, frustration loses its power. Lastly, gratitude is a shield against frustration. Instead of focusing on what we lack, why not appreciate what we have? A grateful heart finds peace even in struggle, for it recognizes that every difficulty carries a hidden blessing. So, how do we stay safe from frustration? By accepting life as it is, by loosening our grip on rigid expectations, by practicing patience, and by embracing gratitude. The battle against frustration is not won by force, but by wisdom. And wisdom whispers, trust life, and it will unfold in ways more beautiful than you ever imagined. Frustration is a silent storm that brews within, often unnoticed until it erupts. It is the product of our desires clashing against an indifferent reality. We want things to happen at a certain time, in a certain way, and when they don't, frustration takes root. But is frustration truly external, or is it a creation of our own minds? The truth is, it exists in the space between our expectations and reality. If that space grows too wide, frustration flourishes. It is not the situation itself, but our resistance to it that causes suffering. Consider a traveler caught in unexpected traffic. His plans are delayed, his mind races with irritation, and suddenly his entire day feels ruined. But the traffic was never the cause of his suffering, it was his expectation of smooth travel. If he had left room for uncertainty, would he have suffered the same way? Frustration is not about the world failing us, it is about us failing to adjust to the world. The first step in overcoming frustration is understanding that it does not reside outside of us, but within. The world does not owe us convenience, it moves according to its own rhythm, and our frustration arises when we demand it to move according to ours. Life does not promise fairness, ease, or predictability. When we make peace with this reality, we strip frustration of its power. A person who expects life to be unpredictable is never frustrated by change. It is not about lowering expectations, it is about aligning them with how life truly works. Our modern world conditions us to expect instant results. Whether it is fast internet, same day delivery, or quick success, we have been taught that waiting is unnecessary. But this conditioning has made us impatient and easily frustrated. We must unlearn this and remember that life has its own natural pace. Not everything will happen immediately, and that is okay. Patience is a forgotten art, and mastering it is the antidote to constant frustration. If frustration is a result of the mind's resistance, then the mind must be trained to let go. Meditation, reflection, and self awareness help in recognizing frustration before it takes over. A person who understands the nature of frustration will never be a slave to it. He will see it rising within him, and instead of feeding it, he will step back and observe. And in that moment of awareness, frustration loses its grip. So before trying to escape frustration, pause and ask, is the problem truly external, or is it my mind resisting reality? This simple question can transform the way we approach life. The battle against frustration is not fought outside, it is fought and won within. Life is neither fair nor unfair, it simply is. The seasons change, the sun rises and sets, and time moves forward without waiting for anyone. Much of our frustration comes from expecting life to follow a script we have written. We want people to act in certain ways, events to unfold as we planned, and opportunities to come when we need them. But life has never agreed to follow our expectations. The sooner we accept this, the sooner frustration loses its grip. A river does not resist the rocks in its path, it flows around them. Yet humans resist every little obstacle, thinking it is an attack on their plans. Why do we fight reality when reality has no intention of fighting us? The wise do not complain about the storm, they prepare for it. They do not curse the night, they light a lamp. Acceptance is not about giving up, it is about adapting with grace. Imagine a sculptor chiseling a block of marble. If the marble resists the chisel, the process becomes painful and nothing beautiful emerges. But when the marble allows itself to be shaped, a masterpiece is born. We too are being shaped by life's circumstances. Frustration arises when we resist this process, when we refuse to let go of control. But if we surrender to life's shaping hands, we discover peace. The problem is not that things go wrong. The problem is that we expect them to always go right. Accepting reality does not mean we stop striving for better, it means we stop resisting what is beyond our control. A man who accepts setbacks as part of the journey walks lighter than the one who carries the burden of resistance. Many philosophers, from the Stoics to the Buddhists, have taught the art of acceptance. They understood that suffering is not in the event but in our reaction to it. A single moment can either frustrate us or teach us. What it becomes depends on our mindset. When we embrace life as it is, we free ourselves from unnecessary pain. So, the next time frustration knocks, instead of resisting, pause and reflect. Is this something I can change? If not, why am I allowing it to disturb my peace? This simple shift in perspective turns frustration into wisdom. Impatience is the fuel of frustration. We live in an era of instant gratification, quick results, fast responses, immediate rewards. But nature does not work that way. A tree does not grow overnight, the ocean does not carve cliffs in a day, and wisdom is not gained in an instant. Those who understand this truth find peace. Those who rush through life find only frustration. Patience is not merely waiting, it is waiting with a calm mind. A person who waits while complaining is not patient, he is frustrated in disguise. True patience is knowing that everything unfolds in its time. The farmer does not dig up his seeds every day to see if they are growing, he trusts the process. Likewise, we must trust that life has its own pace, and forcing it will only lead to frustration. When we chase results without patience, we set ourselves up for disappointment. How often have we abandoned something simply because it did not bear fruit immediately? Success, happiness, and growth all require time. The greatest minds in history were not frustrated by slow progress, they embraced it. If we learn to see waiting as part of the journey, we eliminate a major source of frustration. A great way to cultivate patience is through perspective. Ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? 5 years from now? Most of the things that frustrate us today will be forgotten in time. By zooming out and looking at the bigger picture, we realize how small and temporary our frustrations really are. The world rewards those who endure. Those who give up in frustration never see the fruits of their labor. History is filled with stories of people who faced setbacks but kept going. What separates the successful from the defeated is patience. The ability to persist without losing peace of mind is a rare but powerful trait. So, whenever frustration arises, remind yourself this too shall pass. Nothing lasts forever, not even frustration. The strongest minds are not those who never face frustration, but those who know how to outlast it. We suffer not because of what happens to us, but because of our attachment to how things should be. When we cling too tightly to specific outcomes, we set ourselves up for frustration. We attach ourselves to dreams, people, success, and even the smallest comforts, expecting them to remain unchanged. But life does not work that way. It is fluid, ever moving, and indifferent to our attachments. The more tightly we hold on to something, the more painful it is when life inevitably takes it away. To stay safe from frustration, we must loosen our grip on expectations and learn to flow with life. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you clutch it too tightly, it slips through your fingers no matter how much you try to hold on. But if you keep your palm open, the sand stays. Life is much the same. When we try to control everything, we end up losing more than we gain. But when we accept that things will change, that people will come and go, that circumstances will shift, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Letting go does not mean we stop caring, it means we stop clinging. Attachment is an illusion of permanence. We believe that if we hold on to something tightly enough, we can keep it forever, but nothing in this world is permanent. Neither success nor failure, neither joy nor sorrow. The more we understand this truth, the less we suffer. Frustration arises when we demand permanence in a world that is constantly changing. But if we embrace impermanence, we see beauty in change rather than fear. Think of a river. It does not resist the rocks in its path, it moves around them. It does not cling to the banks, it flows freely. The river is not frustrated when it is forced to change its course. It simply adapts and continues its journey. We too must learn to move with life instead of resisting it. When we let go of attachment to specific results, we find peace because we are no longer tied to a rigid idea of how things should be. One of the most powerful practices for letting go is gratitude. Instead of focusing on what we fear losing, we appreciate what we have in the present moment. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is missing to what is already here. And when we realize that every experience, every person, and every opportunity is temporary, we learn to cherish them without clinging. The more we let go, the lighter we become. So, when frustration creeps in, ask yourself, am I suffering because of what happened or because I wanted it to be different? More often than not, it is our attachment that creates the pain, not the situation itself. Learning to let go is not weakness, it is freedom. And in that freedom, frustration loses its power. In a world that demands speed, patience is a rare but powerful virtue. We live in an age where everything is instant, instant messaging, instant delivery, instant success stories. But life itself does not follow this hurried pace. Nature moves slowly and steadily, and so do all meaningful achievements. A tree does not bear fruit the day it is planted. A masterpiece is not created overnight. The greatest minds in history were not shaped in a moment, yet, in our impatience, we expect immediate results and become frustrated when they do not come. Patience is not just waiting, it is waiting with a calm and steady mind, knowing that everything unfolds in its own time. Frustration thrives on urgency. When we expect things to happen quickly, we create stress for ourselves. We check our progress every day, wondering why we have not reached our destination yet. But if we truly understand the nature of growth, we would not be anxious. Every great achievement requires time, effort, and persistence. The ocean carves cliffs not with force, but with gentle, steady waves over centuries. Those who understand this principle of patience do not become frustrated by slow progress. They trust the process and keep moving forward. Patience is also the key to resilience. Life will throw obstacles in our path, and those who lack patience will give up at the first sign of difficulty. But those who endure, who keep going even when progress is invisible, eventually succeed. History is filled with examples of people who failed countless times before achieving greatness. Thomas Edison conducted thousands of failed experiments before inventing the light bulb. Had he been impatient, he would have quit and the world would have remained in darkness. Frustration is a sign that we expect quick success, but patience teaches us that success is built over time. The beauty of patience is that it brings peace. An impatient mind is restless, always seeking the next step, always worrying about what is yet to come. But a patient mind is present, fully engaged in the moment, knowing that everything has its own season. Farmers do not stand over their crops shouting at them to grow faster. They plant the seeds, nurture them, and trust the process. We must do the same with our goals, our dreams, and even our relationships. Developing patience requires shifting our perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this taking so long?" we should ask, "What is this teaching me?" Every delay has a purpose, every struggle shapes us in ways we do not immediately see. A person who understands this does not fight against time, they flow with it. When we embrace patience, we stop chasing after quick results and start appreciating the journey itself. So the next time frustration rises within you, pause and remind yourself this moment is part of the process. Everything is unfolding as it should. The strongest minds are not those who rush, but those who endure. Patience is not just a virtue, it is the foundation of a peaceful, frustration free life. Life is not a straight road with clear signs and predictable stops. It is an unpredictable journey filled with unexpected turns. We often plan our paths in great detail, setting expectations for how things should unfold, but life rarely follows our script. It takes us through detours, delays, and even storms that we never anticipated. In those moments of uncertainty, frustration begins to creep in. We wonder why things are not working out as planned, why our efforts are not yielding results, and why life seems to be pushing us in a different direction. But what if, instead of resisting, we chose to trust the journey? Trusting life's journey means understanding that every experience, good or bad, has a purpose. Often, when things do not go as planned, we assume they have gone wrong. But life is not working against us. It is guiding us towards something better, something we may not yet see. The delays, failures, and setbacks we experience are not punishments, they are redirections. Sometimes the things we desperately want are not meant for us, and what we see as obstacles are actually stepping stones to something greater. If we can learn to trust that life knows what it is doing, frustration loses its power over us. Many of history's most inspiring figures faced immense setbacks before achieving greatness. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company before returning to make Apple a success. These stories remind us that setbacks are not the end, they are simply part of the journey. What seems like failure in one moment may be the foundation for something incredible in the future. Frustration arises when we believe that delays mean denial. But when we trust life's timing, we find peace even in uncertain moments. Letting go of control is difficult. We like to believe that we are the masters of our destiny, that if we plan well enough, everything will unfold exactly as we desire. But life does not work that way. Control is an illusion. No matter how much we try, we cannot dictate every detail of our journey. The more we fight against life's natural flow, the more frustration we create for ourselves. But when we surrender to the unknown, when we trust that everything is unfolding as it should, we release unnecessary stress and frustration. One of the best ways to trust life's journey is to look back at our past. How many times have we faced disappointments only to realize later that they led us to something better? How often have unexpected events shaped us in ways we never imagined? Life is full of moments where things did not go as planned, yet somehow they turned out even better than we expected. If this has happened before, why should we doubt that it will happen again? Trusting the journey means believing that even when things do not make sense right now, they will in time. So, when frustration arises, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is life trying to teach me?" Every twist in the road is a lesson, every setback is a test of faith, and every challenge is an opportunity for growth. The journey of life is not meant to be controlled, it is meant to be trusted. And when we learn to trust, we replace frustration with faith, fear with confidence, and doubt with peace.